2026 has been absolutely stacked for Switch and Switch 2 owners. We're talking indie bangers, AAA ports that shouldn't even be possible on handheld, and brand new experiences you won't find anywhere else. So let's count down the 25 best new games you need to play this year. Observer, System Redux. It's 2084. The world got wrecked by a digital plague and endless corporate wars, and you play as Daniel Lazarski, a detective called an Observer. The late Rutger Hauer, the actual guy from Blade Runner, voices him, and that already sets the tone perfectly. What you do as an observer is literally hack into dead people's minds using a device called the Dream Eater, crawling through their last memories and nightmares to piece together clues. You're investigating a lockdown in a rundown apartment block while also searching for your missing son. The gameplay sits somewhere between a first-person exploration horror and a detective sim. You switch between biovision to spot organic clues like bloodstains and electromagnetic vision to detect hidden tech. The mind-hacking sequences are deeply unsettling. You're dropped into these twisted, broken mental labyrinths where reality keeps shifting.
This man was busted. The signal must have come from somewhere else.
Elementallis. You play as a young hero whose parents, two powerful elementalists, accidentally destroyed the world's elemental balance, and now it's on you to fix it. You've got 8 different elemental powers: fire, water, wind, electricity, earth, and more, and you use them both in real-time combat and to solve environmental puzzles. The smart part is how they interact. Pour water on the ground first, then zap it with lightning to create a massive electric trap. Each of the 8 temples introduces new ideas and keeps the dungeons from feeling repetitive. Mid-dungeon bosses use the element you haven't unlocked yet against you, which forces you to think creatively before you power up. The overworld is packed with secrets, and unlocking new elements physically opens new areas on the map, in proper Metroidvania fashion. The pixel art is gorgeous. Every zone has its own vibe and color palette, handcrafted with real care. Quartet is a retro JRPG that opens with 4 separate short campaigns. A shopgirl who discovers she can conjure magic through a deck of cards. A young man who accidentally manifests incredible magical power. An airship fleet commander caught in a war. And a rebel involved in a string of mysterious train robberies. You pick the order you play them, each running 2 to 3 hours, and then they all crash together into one grand adventure with a full party of 8 characters, 4 on the front line and 4 in reserve. The twist is, you can swap reserve characters in mid-battle, and they act immediately. Plus, they recharge ability points faster on the bench, so managing your whole squad becomes a genuine strategy. The 16-bit pixel art style evokes Secret of Mana and classic Final Fantasy immediately, and the soundtrack is genuinely phenomenal. Jazz in towns, tense strings in battle. From the creators of Vampire Survivors comes something completely different. A turn-based dungeon-crawling deck builder that somehow manages to capture that same hypnotic, just one more run energy the original was famous for. You pick a crawler character, each of which shapes your starting deck differently, then explore multi-floor dungeons step by step, fighting monsters, cracking chests, and leveling up your card collection. The core mechanic is called the Turbo Turn. You play cards in ascending mana cost order, and each card in the chain multiplies the effect of the next one. So a 0-cost card into a 1-cost card doubles its damage, into a 2-cost triples it, and you can theoretically chain 10, 20, 30 cards and beyond for completely absurd numbers. Wild cards slot anywhere in the chain without breaking the order, letting you bridge gaps. Every weapon from the original Vampire Survivors exists here as a card, and you can chase their evolutions again. Fox McCloud finally got a new game. Well, technically another remake of Star Fox 64, but hear me out, because this one's worth your attention. Developed by Velan Studios exclusively for Switch 2, this is a full cinematic reimagining with completely new character designs, full voice acting, an orchestral soundtrack, new prologue cutscenes, and visuals that several reviewers called some of the best-looking things they've ever seen on a Nintendo system. The gameplay stays faithful to the original rail shooter formula. You fly an R-Wing through linear stages across the Lilat system, barrel roll to deflect shots, collect medals, take alternate routes, and battle Andross while your wingmen constantly need saving. You can finish the main campaign in under an hour, and yes, it follows Star Fox 64's story beat for beat, past the prologue. But the replay value, through alternate routes, challenge modes, and 4 versus 4 online dogfights, makes it much meatier than that runtime suggests. Coffee Talk Tokyo. You play as a barista running a small shop over 15 nights, serving a cast of characters dealing with real, grounded life struggles. There's Kenji, a retired Kappa salaryman trying to find meaning after his career ended. There's Ayame, a young ghost who died before getting her life figured out and now can't move on. There's Vin, your assistant, quietly managing trauma and failing prosthetics. You brew drinks for them using 3 ingredients, mixing hot and cold drinks, and now decorating with sprinkle stencils for latte art. Get the order right and you unlock new conversations. Get it wrong, and the story branches differently. A new feature called Tomoda Chill, an in-game social network, lets you interact with posts from your customers outside the counter, finding hidden story threads and context that changes dialogue. Tales of Arise. You play as Alphen, a masked amnesiac slave who literally cannot feel pain, and Shion, a woman from the ruling planet Rena whose body inflicts agony on anyone who touches her. Their planet Dana has been enslaved by Rena for 300 years, and together they ignite a revolution across 5 regions, each controlled by a cruel lord. The combat is real-time and explosive. You're constantly dodging, landing air launchers, swapping between party members with wildly different playstyles, and building toward devastating boost strikes. Alphen is your aggressive swordsman. Shion handles ranged attacks and healing. Rinwell stores and amplifies spells. Law rewards relentless combo chains. The Beyond the Dawn expansion included here picks up 1 year after the main story and adds around 20 more hours of content centered on a young girl named Nazamil, caught between the 2 worlds.
Shut him down!
This one's mine!
The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. You play as Elliot, a young adventurer exploring a continent called Philibieldia, accompanied by his fairy partner, Faye. Together you found the Doorway of Time, a portal that lets you travel across 4 distinct historical eras of the world, each with their own civilizations, mysteries, and threats. The real-time combat mixes swordplay with Faye's strategic support abilities, and the exploration genuinely rewards curiosity, as new paths open when you revisit earlier eras with knowledge from later ones. The Zelda and Ys comparisons are everywhere in reviews, and they're fair. This is a top-down action adventure built around dungeon progression and world revelation. The story's emotional core sits in Elliot and Faye's relationship, and how the 1,000-year history of humanity on this continent slowly comes into focus. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Nintendo's Green Dinosaur is back, with a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive that's unlike any Yoshi game before it. The setup is wonderfully weird. A sentient, talking encyclopedia called Mr. E crash lands on Yoshi Island and invites Yoshi to dive into his pages and help him remember all the creatures living inside. Each chapter of Mr. E is a different habitat: woodlands, windy mountaintops, sunny beaches, bug-infested jungles, and your job is to study the creatures through experimentation. You eat them with Yoshi's tongue, and lay an egg you can throw at other creatures to trigger reactions. You jump on them, carry them on your back, flick your tail to interact with them. Every creature behaves differently, and figuring out how they react to each other opens new discoveries that unlock more pages to explore. Mouse P.I. for Hire. Imagine if Cuphead was a first-person boomer shooter set in the 1930s. That's the pitch, and it works. You play as Jack Pepper, voiced by Troy Baker, a former war hero turned private investigator in the black-and-white city of Mouseburg. A simple missing persons case spirals into a web of organized crime, corrupt cops, political conspiracy, and murder, with every classic noir archetype present and accounted for. the hard-boiled bartender, the cynical journalist, the femme fatale. Every animation in this game is hand-drawn, frame by frame, in authentic rubber hose style, the exact technique used in Steamboat Willie-era cartoons, and the result is jaw-dropping. It moves like nothing else in gaming. The FPS gameplay is arena-based and Doom-inspired. You run in, waves of armed rodents and mobsters pour from doors, and you blast through them with a growing arsenal of Tommy guns, dynamite, revolvers, and weird cartoon weapons with alternate fire modes.
Going down. No other way around.
Trails Beyond the Horizon is the 13th game in Nihon Falcom's legendary Trails series, and it drops you into the most ambitious setup the franchise has ever attempted. The continent of Zemuria is counting down to a prophesied apocalypse, while simultaneously preparing to launch humanity's very first rocket into space, Project Startaker. 3 separate routes play out in parallel. Van Arkride, the Spriggan investigator from the Daybreak games, Reen Schwarzer, fan favorite Ashen Chevalier from the Cold Steel arc, and Father Kevin Graham, a veteran Gralsritter. Each route investigates different threats, converging toward the same cataclysmic endpoint. Combat mixes real-time field battles for weaker enemies with fully tactical, turn-based command battles for major encounters, and new mechanics like shard commands, the time-freezing ZOC system, and awakening abilities add genuine depth and freshness to the already refined formula.
Shred their weak spot with an art!
Final Fantasy VII Remake expands the original game's first 5 hours into a massive 30-plus hour RPG set entirely inside the city of Midgar. Cloud, a brooding ex-soldier turned mercenary, joins the eco-terrorist group Avalanche in blowing up Mako reactors, and what starts as a simple mission pulls him into something far larger, involving Sephiroth, the planet's lifestream, and the literal fabric of fate. The combat is real-time action, blended with a tactical ATB system. You're actively dodging, pressing attacks to build the gauge, then pausing time to cast spells, use items, or trigger character abilities. Every party member plays completely differently, from Barrett's rhythm-based cannon charges to Tifa's chi-stacking close combat. The Intergrade edition adds the intermission episode starring Yuffie Kisaragi, running parallel to Cloud's story, which is legitimately excellent.
That it?
Pokémon Pokopia is a cozy sandbox life sim co-developed by Game Freak and Omega Force, where you play as a Ditto that is transformed into a human form. The world is empty. All the humans are mysteriously gone, and the Pokémon left behind are living in abandoned, crumbling towns. Working alongside Professor Tangrowth, your mission is to restore this world one habitat at a time, attracting Pokémon back by building and decorating their ideal living spaces, growing food, laying down infrastructure, and connecting communities. The deeper hook is that as you befriend different Pokémon, you learn their moves, and Ditto can use those moves as practical tools. Squirtle's water gun irrigates crops. Bulbasaur's leafage creates instant greenery. Timber speeds up construction. There's a light but genuinely touching story about where the humans went and what Ditto's connection to their missing trainer means. Twin-stick shooters have had a king for years. Geometry Wars held that throne for a long time. Sektori, made by a single developer who spent 13 years at Housemarque, the studio behind Resogun, has taken that crown. You pilot a triangular ship called the Redeemer through arenas filled with geometric enemies that morph and shift the environment around you, meaning you're constantly forced to move to new vantage points even as you're firing. Your only move beyond shooting is a short dash that detonates a small explosion, which you can chain into enemy clusters or bomb tokens for massive chain reactions. Defeated enemies drop pickups that let you select Gradius-style upgrades: faster speed, stronger weapons, additional shields, more missiles. Before each run, you pick a deck of 8 upgrade cards to draw from during gameplay, and these can be customized as you unlock more. Devil May Cry 5 Devil Hunter Edition. You play as Dante's twin brother through the entire game, with his own completely distinct and devastatingly complex moveset. The story kicks off mid-crisis, shows you a catastrophic defeat, then rewinds to show you how it got there. And it's a genuinely great action movie narrative, packed with over-the-top character moments and some of the most spectacular boss fights in gaming. Nero is your starting point, a balanced swordsman with Devil Breaker prosthetic arms that give different abilities before shattering on heavy use. Dante unlocks mid-game and is the most complex. 4 weapons, 4 guns, 4 fighting styles that radically change how he plays. Thee summons animal familiars to fight for him, while he finishes weakened enemies with his cane. And Virgil rewards absolute mastery of timing and concentration management for player-driven spectacle that still rewards experimentation years later. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the second part of Square Enix's FF7 Remake trilogy, and it completely changes the format. Gone is the linear corridor of Midgar, replaced by massive open zones, spanning grasslands, Junon, Costa del Sol, Corel, Gongaga, Cosmo Canyon, and Nibelheim. The gang is chasing Sephiroth, who's somehow alive and manipulating destiny itself, while Cloud's grip on his own memories and identity grows increasingly unstable. The combat evolves the remake system, with synergy skills that trigger spectacular team-up moves between active party members. Vincent and Sid from the original even join the crew later. Queen's Blood, an in-game card game introduced here, is genuinely addictive as a standalone minigame. The side content is dense but well-written, with character-focused quests that reveal personal histories rather than just padding out playtime. Rhythm Paradise Groove is the first all-new entry in the series since Rhythm Heaven Fever in 2011, 15 years, and it delivers over 80 brand new solo rhythm minigames, plus 30 multiplayer modes. The formula hasn't changed, and doesn't need to. Each minigame drops you into a bizarre situation and asks you to press 1 or 2 buttons in time with the music. Punch cans with a hammer, chop vegetables in a kitchen, cheer for a robot, dodge a sneezing moon. Each block of 5 games ends with a remix that mashes all their mechanics and music together in a chaotic finale that tests everything you just learned. Composer Tsunku, who built the series' musical identity from the very beginning, is back with new tracks across every imaginable genre. The new Beat Spell mode adds a light RPG wrapper, where you cast rhythm-based spells to fight enemies in a dungeon. And while it's not especially deep narratively, it's a genuinely clever extension of the formula. Blue Prince. You've inherited Mount Holly Estate from an elderly relative, along with a single instruction: find room 46. The manor has 45 numbered rooms, but somehow, room 46 doesn't appear on any map. Each day you explore, you draft rooms into existence by choosing from 3 options behind each door. You have a limited number of steps per day, and when you run out, the entire manor resets. Every run is different. Your goal and your strategy shift as you discover notes scattered through the rooms, written by previous visitors, researchers, and inhabitants that slowly reveal a web of blackmail, political corruption, and literary secrets hidden in the manor's history. The drafting system means every door is a strategic decision. Pick a key room too early, and you might not have enough stamina to use it. Chase puzzle rooms and run out before you reach the critical path. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. Out there in history, entire islands have been sealed away by an evil force, and restoring them means traveling back in time to experience each one's individual story: love, war, tragedy, triumph, before bringing it back to the present. The game is structured as a series of vignettes, each self-contained but part of a larger tapestry. The original DQ7 was famously brutal in length and pacing, so this reimagined version streamlines the narrative significantly, adds a helpful minimap, brings the vocation system in much earlier, and introduces a moonlighting mechanic that lets you level 2 vocations at once for creative build combinations. A new diorama art style inspired by Nintendo's own HD 2D games gives the whole thing a vibrant, chibi toy box aesthetic, with Akira Toriyama's iconic character designs intact. Combat adds auto battle for grinding and a speed-up option for veterans. Planet of Lana was a quiet sleeper hit in 2024. Its sequel, subtitled Children of the Leaf, is significantly bigger and more confident in every way. 2 years have passed since the events of the first game. Lana and her cat-like companion Mui are living in a world that has awkwardly adapted the alien technology that once threatened to destroy everything. Tribal factions have formed around it, and power is being fought over. When Lana's sister is poisoned, she and Mui set off across the alien planet Novo looking for a cure, and what they find goes much deeper than medicine. The gameplay is a cinematic puzzle platformer in the tradition of Limbo, Inside, and Little Nightmares. You stealth past enemies, time-precise platforming sequences, and most critically, you manage Mui, who can control local wildlife and even hijack robots to solve environmental puzzles.
Plátame, de nuevindi, meno, olai.
Monster Hunter Stories 3: Twisted Reflection has always been the entry point for people who love the world but find the action games too demanding. And with Twisted Reflection, this third installment has finally become something that stands entirely on its own. Two rival kingdoms, Azuria and Vermeil, are both being destroyed by the Crystal Encroachment, a creeping blight that's crystallizing entire landscapes and driving monster species to extinction. When a Rathalos egg hatches to reveal twins, an omen tied to a devastating civil war 200 years prior, you, the heir of Azuria, set out with the Princess of Vermeil to uncover the truth and save both nations. You're a rider, which means instead of fighting monsters, you bond with them, steal their eggs from dens, hatch them as monsties, and fight alongside them. Combat is turn-based, rock, paper, scissors. Power beats speed, speed beats technical, technical beats power.
Good! You did it! Yeah!
Mio, Memories in Orbit. If you want a Metroidvania that looks unlike anything else on the platform, Mio is it. You play as a small robot named Mio, who wakes up on an enormous derelict spacecraft called the Vessel, a technological ark overrun with rogue machines and wild vegetation. The AI caretakers called the Pearls have gone silent, and the entire vessel is shutting down. Mio doesn't know why, or who she even is. What follows is a beautifully crafted mystery told entirely through environmental exploration and the fragments of memory you recover by defeating Guardian bosses. The art style is painterly and cel-shaded in a way that feels like a French bande dessinée comic brought to life. Huge, gorgeous backgrounds with incredible sense of scale and atmosphere. Combat starts with just a double jump and a basic attack, but the jump recharges when you hit enemies in the air, enabling extended aerial combos. Pragmata. Hugh survives thanks to Diana, a young android girl wandering the facility alone. You play as both of them simultaneously. Hugh moves, shoots, and hovers with his thruster suit. Diana rides on his back and hacks every enemy and security system in range using a grid-based interface. In combat, you get enemies open with Diana's hacks, overheat them with Hugh's weapons for critical damage, then trigger combined finishers. The two systems have to be juggled at the same time, and it requires real focus. Early reviewers compared it to patting your head while rubbing your stomach. As the duo bond through conversations, collectibles, and Hugh's homespun stories, their dynamic becomes the real heart of the game, alongside an excellent mystery about what IDU-S actually is and what the Delphi Corporation was really doing up there. The 9th mainline Resident Evil game is a genuinely staggering achievement, and the fact that it's on Switch 2 at all is a technological miracle. Grace Ashcroft is an FBI intelligence analyst, introverted and not a trained combat specialist, sent to investigate a mysterious death at an abandoned hotel in the Midwest. That hotel is where her mother, Alyssa, a journalist, survivor of the Raccoon City outbreak, was murdered 8 years ago. As the case unravels, it connects back to the Raccoon City incident in ways nobody expected, and Leon S. Kennedy arrives on scene when a cop goes missing, setting up a dual protagonist structure that paces the game to perfection. Grace's sections are pure survival horror, limited ammo, scarce resources, terrifying stalkers, tight inventory management. Leon's sections shift toward aggressive action, reminiscent of RE4, with fluid combat, deep weapon upgrading, and crafting on the fly.
What are you doing here?
Would you like to see what's hidden under the hood?
Don't do anything stupid.
Me?
Mina is a Hollower, a skilled engineer whose ability is burrowing underground and popping back up elsewhere. Which sounds simple until you realize it is simultaneously your dodge, your traversal, your puzzle tool, your combat mechanic, and the thing that powers every dungeon in the game. The island of Tenebris has gone dark. 6 generators have failed, hostile creatures are everywhere, and Mayor Lord Lionel needs Mina's help. The world opens up across 6 distinct regions: swamps, autumn forests, frozen train yards, ruins, each with its own boss and dungeon, all interconnected in a dense Metroidvania-style map. Combat feels like top-down Souls. You have 5 weapon types, 15 throwable sidearm options, and 60 trinkets to mix into your build. Bones, the currency, and EXP are lost on death if you can't retrieve your spark, creating real tension. "25 incredible games for your Switch or Switch 2 in 2026. Whether you want story-driven RPGs, cozy life sims, brutal action, horror, or pure arcade bliss, this year has it all covered. Which one are you picking up? Drop it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if this helped you out. Catch you in the next one.